Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming, especially on this sunny Friday afternoon. So I really value your time and your hard work today. Today I'm speaking to my report that I just addressed before the Third Committee of the General Assembly, entitled Starvation and the Right to Food, with an emphasis on the Palestinian people's food sovereignty. So I'll just highlight some of the things that I discuss in the report. First thing that I do in the report is just really focus on the definition of starvation and famine. What does it even mean? The reason I do that is currently under international law, starvation is primarily understood as a humanitarian issue, as a violation of the laws of war, as an international criminal, as a matter of international criminal law. And the limit of that is multiple limits to that. One, conceptually, that starvation doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen just in war. Starvation is the result of choices that are made over decades. You have decades of slow violence, and then when that moment of starvation happens, often in the context of war, it's like flipping a switch, right? So the question is, how was it even possible for one group to starve another? And the report, so it looks into that you have to look at the political economy, you have to look at systemic human rights violations that are happening over decades in the food system. You're looking at land grabs, occupation, the commodification of seeds, etc. The other limit of only thinking about starvation in terms of international humanitarian law and international criminal law is in terms of accountability. As you know, probably, that the current prosecutor of the International Criminal Court is seeking warrants for two Israeli leaders, and part of the claim is crimes of starvation. And I'm following this case closely, and we'll see what happens, and I think that's important to hold individuals accountable. But it's not just bad people doing bad things. How were those individuals able to do this? This is a systemic issue. We should be able to hold countries and corporations accountable. On the specific issue of the Palestinian people's food sovereignty, this report answers a very specific question. How was Israel able to starve 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza so quickly and so completely? We have never seen in modern history this speed of starvation ever. And the report answers that question. Of course, this doesn't start in October 7. You can go back multiple points in time. You can go back to 2000, when Israel began its blockade against Gaza. So in 1991, Israel starts to restrict the flow of goods and people in Gaza. By 2000, it's now has its military and settlers occupying Gaza, and they impose a blockade, causing profound rates of hunger and malnutrition. And around 2005, by 2007, Israel withdraws its military and removes its settlers, but now imposes a siege. So it continues its occupation of Gaza by controlling and blocking the border. So from 2000 to 2023, Israel has a profound degree of control over Gaza. And it's like a faucet that you tighten and loosen. And they would make sure that the Palestinians in Gaza were just hungry enough to not raise alarms. They were counting calories and measuring what is allowed in to make sure that everyone remained hungry in Gaza, but not so hungry that it raised alarm bells in the international humanitarian world. So that on October 6th, 2023, half of people in Gaza were food insecure and 80% depended on humanitarian aid. Which is why then when Israel declared its starvation campaign on October 9th of 2023, by December, we suspected everyone in Gaza, by December, everyone in Gaza was hungry. And I spoke to the world's leading famine experts, and they said, we didn't even know how to measure famine this quickly. They didn't know it was so unique. But of course, it's not just Gaza. This is not a war in Gaza. This is an Israeli assault against the Palestinian people. In the last 2 years, we've seen record violence against Palestinians in the West Bank, especially peasants and farmers and shepherds. We've seen, I've just put out a press release yesterday, I believe, on the increased violence and the uprooting and burning of olive trees. What's at stake with the olive tree? Olive trees live for thousands of years. It is people's relationship to their ancestors, and how they take care of olive trees is how they are taking care of future generations. When Israeli forces and settlers are uprooting olive trees, this is an attack against the Palestinian people as a people. This is part of this genocidal campaign. The attack against UNRWA is not just a UN agency. It is a UN agency that ensures the food security for Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and the occupied Palestinian territories. UNRWA also holds the land claims for many Palestinian people when they were made refugees in the Nakba in 47, 48. So by attacking UNRWA, what Israel is trying to do is undermine the Palestinian people's right to return to their homes, to their territory, to Palestine itself. So that is what at stake. Benjamin Netanyahu announced Israel's annexation plan in the General Assembly in September 2023. And that's what's happening today. This is an attempt to use starvation to displace people, to kill people, to annihilate people, as an attempt to erase the Palestinians from history and from their land in order for Israel to fully annex Palestinian territory. And we see that their annexation plan continues now into Lebanon.